The police called it suicide, but the last person who saw her was a cop. Maya Ellison was just 23 years old. She was pregnant and excited to be a mom. But one cold February night, she stopped answering her phone. No calls, no texts, just silence. 3 days later, they found her, face down, in her bedroom, a scarf wrapped tight around her neck. Her cats were starving, and the baby inside her, gone. The police said it was suicide. Quick, clean, no foul play. But there's one thing they left out. The last person to see Maya alive was a cop, and not just any cop. The man who got her pregnant. Chapter 1. A life cut short. Maya loved helping people. At 13, she joined a police program for teens. While her friends were still watching cartoons, she was learning how to do traffic stops. She dreamed of becoming a real officer someday. She believed in justice. She believed in the badge. That's when she met Officer Adam Carver. He was older, confident, respected. At first, it was just mentorship, advice, encouragement. But as Maya grew up, his messages started to change. He told her she was special, said he could help her join the force one day. And Maya, young, hopeful, full of trust, believed him. But behind the kind words was a man hiding something darker. By 19, she wasn't just his student. She was his secret. What she didn't know was how far that secret would go and how it would end. February 4th, Maya misses work. No one can reach her. And when the door finally opens, the scene inside is something you never forget. Chapter 2. The Discovery. Unraveling the Scene. February 4th, 2021. It had been 3 days since anyone heard from Maya Ellison. No texts, no calls, not even a post online. Maya never went this quiet. Not unless something was wrong. Her coworkers were worried she'd missed work again, and that's when someone made the call. A welfare check. It was just after noon when officers arrived at her apartment. No one answered the door, but something felt off. The hallway was silent. The lights inside were still on, and a soft meowing could be heard from the other side of the door. What they found inside was something they'd never forget. Maya was in her bedroom, face down, lifeless. She was dressed, but her body was cold. Around her neck, a scarf, tied tightly to the closet rod above her, but not high enough for her to hang. The position didn't make sense. Her cats had clawed at the door. There were scratches in the carpet and scattered across the room, pieces of a broken necklace, like someone had grabbed it, hard. But here's what's most disturbing. There was no goodbye letter, no sign of forced entry, no clear fingerprints. But one thing was clear. She had been excited about her baby. Just days before, Maya had messaged a friend, smiling, sharing names she'd picked out. Why would she plan for a future? Then end it all. And then there's this. That man was Officer Adam Carver, the father of her child, the man who had once promised to protect her, and the last person confirmed to see her alive. The case was shut fast, too fast. No autopsy photos were released to the family, no charges, no further questions. But the evidence? The evidence was whispering something else. Maya's family wasn't convinced, and neither were the experts. When a private pathologist stepped in, what he found changed everything. Chapter 3. A Promising Start, Maya's Aspirations. Long before the headlines, before the badge, before the baby, Maya Ellison believed in something bigger than herself. She wasn't chasing fame. She wasn't trying to impress anyone. She wanted to protect people. At just 13 years old, Maya joined the Police Explorer program, a place where teens could train to one day become real officers. She practiced real police procedures. She learned codes, hand signals, even how to handle a crisis. And every time she put on the uniform, even the junior one, her smile lit up the room. For Maya, the badge wasn't about power. It was about service. It was about belonging. He was charming. Everyone liked him. To Maya, he was a mentor, a leader, and slowly, something more. At first, it felt innocent, just compliments. encouragement. But when you're 16 and the man praising you wears a badge, it's easy to believe every word he says. Officer Carver told her she had a bright future, said she could make the force if she kept her head down, told her he'd be there every step of the way. And for a while, he was. But behind the praise was silence, behind the texts was secrecy, and behind the promise of a future was a man slowly pulling her into his shadow. She was proud, but she was also alone. The deeper she got into the program, the more isolated she became. People said she was too close to the officers. Rumors started, whispers behind her back. But Maya held on, to the dream, to the man who said he believed in her. She didn't know. That same man would one day be the reason she'd never wear that badge for real. Their relationship would spiral, and when Maya found out she was pregnant, what should have been joy turned into fear because the father of her baby wanted her silence, and silence is deadly. Chapter 4. Betrayal of Trust, the Officers Involved. At first, Officer Adam Carver made Maya feel seen. He texted her often, called her late at night, told her she was different, special. But behind closed doors, it wasn't just words anymore. By 19, Maya was in a full relationship with Adam. But there was a problem. She wasn't the only one. There were rumors, whispers that Adam had done this before, gotten too close with other girls in the program. But nothing was ever confirmed. No one filed a report, and in a small town, whispers die fast, especially when the man you're whispering about wears a badge. He was protected, respected, trusted, but Maya was not. She had no power, no one to turn to. Not even her own mother believed the full story. And then Maya found out she was pregnant. At first, she was hopeful, scared, yes, but excited. She sent sonogram photos to her close friends, talked about baby names, started reading books about motherhood. But when she told Adam Carver, everything changed. He got cold, distant, then angry. She said he threatened her, said he'd take care of it if she didn't. At one point, she confided in a friend, "If anything happens to me, it wasn't an accident." And she wasn't just dealing with Adam. His brother, Sergeant Brian Carver, was also high-ranking in the same department. And another officer, Cole Ramsey, had also messaged Maya in the past. Flirty, inappropriate, while she was still a minor. 3 men, 3 badges, 1 girl, pregnant, vulnerable, and completely surrounded. And when things got messy, they closed ranks, closed the case, and shut the door. But Maya didn't stay quiet. She told people, left clues. She wanted the truth out there. And when her texts suddenly stopped, someone noticed. But by then, it may have been too late. Chapter 5. The Pregnancy, a Turning Point. For a moment, Maya Ellison smiled. She was 22, alone, but hopeful. She had a life growing inside her, a daughter. She called her Miracle. Maya believed this child would be her new beginning, her clean slate, her reason to finally move on from Officer Adam Carver. But life had other plans. When she told him he was going to be a father, Adam didn't celebrate. He got cold. Maya thought it would bring them closer. Instead, it pulled him further away. She started getting short, sharp messages. "You're ruining everything. No one's going to believe you. I told you to keep quiet." Then came the threats. He wanted her to get rid of it, told her she had options, offered money, but Maya said no, again and again, because to her, this baby was never a mistake. It was hope. She tried to keep calm, tried to focus on her baby, tried to believe things would get better. But late at night, she began to fear for more than her future. She feared for her safety. The closer she got to her due date, the colder Adam became, and he wasn't the only one. Maya felt trapped, surrounded. 3 men, 1 truth, and no way out. That one sentence should have changed everything. But no one listened. February 1st, she was alive and hopeful. February 4th, her body was found on the floor. But what happened in those final 72 hours? And why? Did the police move so quickly to call it suicide? The clock is ticking, the truth is buried, and what comes next will leave you speechless. Chapter 6. The Final Days, a Timeline. In the final 72 hours of Maya Ellison's life, something happened. Something that changed everything. Let's walk through it, hour by hour, message by message. February 1st at 11:12 a.m. Maya texts her best friend. I think it's a girl, I'm naming her Sky. She sounds happy. She's planning baby clothes. She's looking at cribs online. She even calls the doctor's office to schedule her next ultrasound. February 2nd, 9:47 p.m. She tries again. I'm not asking for anything. I just want you to be present. Still, nothing. The messages are marked red, but he doesn't respond. February 3rd, 12:03 a.m. The last visitor to Maya's apartment is caught on camera. A man in uniform. He walks in, alone, carrying nothing. Whoever he was, he never reports the visit. And Maya's phone goes completely silent after that. February 3rd, morning. She doesn't show up for work. No replies to texts, not even to her mom. February 4th, 1:42 p.m. The police perform a welfare check. Inside of food left on the counter, laundry half folded, her wallet still in her purse, and then the bedroom. The position doesn't make sense. Her knees bent, feet touching the floor, the scarf loosely tied. There are no signs of a struggle, no forced entry, no goodbye, but the room is off, like someone staged a story and walked away. The case is closed. No questions asked, no press release, no arrest. But Maya left behind clues, texts, witnesses, a child never born, and now a family that refuses to stay silent. Because the clock may have stopped for Maya. But for the truth, it's just getting started. Why did the police rush the case? Why was no autopsy released to the family? And what did the private investigator find? That the department tried to bury? In Chapter 7, the cover-up begins to crack. Chapter 7, Questionable Investigation, Suppressed Evidence. When Maya Ellison was found dead, the police took only a few hours to call it suicide. No press conference, no full autopsy report, no criminal investigation, just one word stamped on the file. Closed. But behind that file was a list of things that didn't add up. Red flag number 1, the scene. Experts later said it was physically impossible to hang yourself the way she was found. Not without a struggle, not without bruising. But Maya had no marks around her neck, no broken cartilage, no red ligature lines. Forensics didn't match the story, but that didn't stop the police from closing the book. Red flag number 2, no note, no motive. Maya left no note, no goodbye, no message to her family. Nothing about the baby, and only days before her death, she'd been excited. She'd sent baby names to her cousin, ordered a pink blanket online, scheduled her next doctor visit, so why would someone preparing for motherhood suddenly decide to? Red flag number 3, the visitor. The last known person to see Maya alive was Officer Adam Carver. He never mentioned visiting her that night. He was never questioned under oath, never gave a formal statement, and when investigators asked for the full security footage, 2 hours were missing, gone, deleted. No one explained it. No one even tried. Red flag number 4, private autopsy findings. Maya's family refused to stay silent. They hired a private pathologist, a well-known forensic doctor named Dr. Marcus Benton. He found no classic signs of suicide, but he did find something else. Bruises on Maya's arms, defensive marks on her hands, and most haunting of all, traces of DNA that didn't match hers. That evidence was handed over to the department. It was never added to the case file, never reported, never followed up. Red flag number 5. Silenced voices. A whistleblower later claimed Maya wasn't the first girl in the program that Officer Carver got close to. There were others, but no one ever filed a report, because in that department, bad things just went away. So let's ask the question again. If Maya really took her own life, why hide so much? Why erase security footage? Why ignore bruises? Why silence witnesses? Unless someone already knew the truth and didn't want the world to hear it. Maya's family wasn't done. They filed lawsuits, told her story to the press, held vigils in the cold, and what they uncovered would pull the mask off more than just one officer. It would shake the whole department. Chapter 8. Seeking Justice, Legal Battles, and Public Outcry. Maya Ellison died alone, pregnant, surrounded by unanswered questions. But she didn't die forgotten. Her family refused to let her name vanish into a closed police file. They wanted answers. They wanted truth. And above all, they wanted justice. Just weeks after Maya's death, her family filed a civil lawsuit. They accused Officer Adam Carver of statutory rape, coercion, and wrongful death. And they didn't stop there. They also named the entire department in the case for failing to protect Maya, for failing to report misconduct, for covering up the truth. The statement. My niece was kind. She believed in the police. She believed in them, and they failed her. Now we fight for her, and for every girl who might be next. The press picked up the story. People started asking questions, and that's when something strange happened. The department went silent. No interviews, no new reports, no internal investigation made public. They didn't defend themselves. They disappeared. The town, once quiet, began to speak. Protesters marched outside the police station. A mural of Maya was painted near her high school. Thousands shared her story online. Millions read her name. She had become more than a case. She was a symbol of trust betrayed, of justice delayed, of silence forced. And the louder the people shouted, the more cracks began to show. Behind the scenes, deals were made, files were sealed, and money was exchanged. But for Maya's family, there was no amount that could ever replace the child they lost, or the daughter who should have lived. They didn't want revenge. They wanted the truth. They wanted Maya's voice to echo louder than her silence. But the story didn't end in court, because Maya's case wasn't isolated. There were others, other girls, other stories swept under the rug. And what comes next proves just how deep the corruption went. Chapter 9. A Pattern of Corruption, the Bigger Picture. At first, Maya's death looked like a one-time tragedy. One girl, one cop, a single terrible story. But the deeper people looked, the more disturbing the truth became. Maya wasn't alone, not even close. Other whispers. After Maya's story went public, other women began speaking out. One said she was 16 when Officer Adam Carver started messaging her. Another said he'd offered her rides home from Explorer meetings and made her uncomfortable in the car. A third said she dropped out of the program because it felt unsafe. None of them had filed police reports, because why would they? He was the police. The boys' club. The culture inside the department wasn't about justice. It was about protection, but only for each other. One officer joked during roll call, "If you're not getting caught, you're doing fine." Another, Cole Ramsey, was accused of messaging underage girls as far back as 2017. But every time, the complaints were dropped. The files vanished. The whispers died, because the badge was a shield. And behind that shield, they were untouchable. Internal affairs. Closed. Maya's family demanded an internal review of the department, but no officers were fired. No charges were brought. No names were officially released. Instead, the department quietly restructured. A few men retired early. Some shifted into new roles in neighboring towns. No justice, no consequences, just relocation. This wasn't about one bad cop. It was about a system that looked the other way, a pattern of silence, a pattern of power, a pattern of young women hurt and forgotten. The more stories that surfaced, the clearer it became. Maya was part of something much larger, a system that failed to protect the people it promised to serve. And if it could happen to Maya, it could happen to anyone, because sometimes the uniform doesn't protect the innocent. It protects the guilty. But Maya's name didn't vanish. It became a banner, a symbol. And in the final chapter, we return to where it all began, to remember not just how she died, but how she lived, and what her story still demands from all of us.